Hey, I'm here at the Save Point in Westminster, Maryland, talking with Eric Holnecker and...
Kat Huffman.
Didn't get your last name, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So, Eric, how long has your store been open here?
What do you think, Kat?
It was September 2011 when we opened, so about a year and a half, just over that.
What got you into wanting to open up your own store?
Well, I think both of us have always been fans of video games. I've grown up with them my whole life, starting from when I was this tall. So I've always wanted to work with computers and video games, just in the field. You know, when I grow up, I will do this. So it was always kind of a dream of mine to have a retail store, you know, like GameStop. And I was growing up as a kid, or Babbage's even, and after growing up and realizing that there's quite a nightmare behind it, then I thought, you know what, it would be better to have a retail store that covers everything that the other ones don't. And yeah, it just kind of fell into place.
How about you, Kat? What got you interested in
Wow. I mean, I've always, the same thing, I love video games. I got an NES for Christmas in like 1991 and never looked back. But yeah, I worked at GameStop for a while. And I love working with video games, but I hated the whole corporate aspect of the thing. So when Eric and I got together, and you know, the mall approached him about his arcade machines and having a retail location involving a LAN center, because he had arcade machines in the mall before we opened. You know, we kind of put our heads together and said, well, we both really want to do this. Let's just incorporate the whole thing. So we ended up with the LAN center, the arcades, and the retail aspect, which has grown into something really cool.
I see your store deals with a lot of retro systems, a lot of retro games. Where do you most mainly get them? You get them like from auctions, or?
In the beginning, it was our collection. Like, Eric had over $5,000 worth of just stuff he'd found at Goodwill, stuff he'd held on to for years. But after the initial inventory when we opened, it's all people bringing it to us. Like, maybe we pick up the occasional thing at Goodwill when it's not overpriced, which it usually is. But, you know, people every day at least want somebody's coming in with, you know, a couple Xbox games here and there, maybe a couple Atari games, and sometimes we find some really cool stuff. And that's just when, you know, probably like an hour radius of where we are, and
right.
People are still bringing us stuff that they're finding, which is not what I expected at all.
So you're allowing people to bring in things to trade in and stuff, and oh, that's really nice.
Yeah.
On the arcade part of it, are all these your own personal machines out here?
Yeah, there's I've always tried to keep a budget in mind on the arcades, and base it off of, you know, like, I'm only going to spend money on arcade machines out of the money that the initial arcade machine I purchased is making. So that way you're not falling into a money pit. But you wind up falling into a money pit either way. So
It becomes a lifestyle very quickly. Yeah. There should be a reality TV show about it, probably.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Do you get most of your arcade games like from arcade auctions or Craigslist, or?
Oh, I'm gonna have to think for a second.
I think he's friends with a couple of middlemen who, like, they
okay.
are the ones who go to the auctions, and then they'll call him and say, I got this thing, and I don't know what to do with it, because, I mean, if you want to speak for yourself, that's fine. Eric works in a lot of more obscure, like the weird Sega stuff that there's only 20 of them in the country, or, you know, linking up all these racing machines because he's obsessed with getting them all. But, so these guys, you know, they normally have, like, claw machines and, you know, like fishing games, because that's what makes them money, unfortunately, nowadays. But they'll come across, you know, like a skateboard game that they never heard of, but it says Sega on it, so maybe Holniker wants to take a look at it. So usually it ends up that people call him and say, like, you want a couple $100 for this thing, because it's taking up space. So most of the machines we get are not fully functional when we get them, but that's what Eric spends most of his time doing, is fixing them up.
Do you enjoy repairing the arcade games?
Absolutely. You know, I love looking at a problem and saying, okay, I have no idea what I'm doing, let's jump into it. And sometimes, you know, I'll have to look at a particular machine and say, all right, well, the monitor's busted, the board's busted, I know nothing about this at all, and I'm going to crack down for the next month and research the hell out of it until I can fix it. And
that's awesome.
It's been working okay so far. The only thing I've yet to grasp fully is monitor repair, and they're scary beasts.
Oh, there's nothing to monitor repairs. I've repaired for you those in my time. They're
Yeah,
not bad at all. They're very simple.
They're scary to look at.
Oh, they're very simple. They're not hard at all. It's a
projectors.
neat hobby to get into.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Your store, do you ever hold any kind of tournaments or anything like that?
We have. It becomes a little difficult to plan because at first it was just the two of us running everything, and we, been in tournaments or seen tournaments at conventions, but hadn't really paid attention to how they were run. And then once we do, we'll try to see who's interested in a tournament, and 20 people will say, yeah, totally, but then only 3 show up. So it becomes difficult to actually get the ball rolling. So we've had a few. We had a duck hunt tournament that was really cool. It was like 40 feet away, I think, from the TV, like who could get the most, and we figured it would be like 2 or 3
40 feet?
The guy who won got like 81 ducks or something like that.
From 41 feet?
Yeah.
Correct.
So we've had some pretty neat things, but we're trying to get more into event planning. We haven't really gotten over that.
Try blind
yet.
duck hunt.
Yeah. When we go to plan events, people say that they want the newest Call of Duty tournament or they want a Madden tournament. Even when we try to run stuff like that, and we have in the past, people don't show. People love to come in and say, I would love to do this thing, I'd support this thing, and then we're like, all right, here's this thing, and they're nowhere to be found. But the kind of tournaments that I would run regardless of who showed up, things like the Duck Hunt tournament, we took machines to Katsucon, and I told them a requirement for us bringing machines was I wanted to run a Sonic the Fighters Championship. I don't think that game's ever seen a tournament in the United States, at least not in the last, 20 years almost.
Is it that old?
But yeah,
Wow.
but the U.S. adaptation of Sonic the Fighters is called Sonic Championship, so championship. It's fun stuff.
So it's obscure things. It's things
Yeah.
you wouldn't find at every other LAN center.
I want to thank you again, Eric, for letting me come down.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Kat. Hope to see you at MagFest next year.
Well.
Take it easy.